part 2. I remember the whole exact reason why I made the video on my conversation with the German girls. So it's funny because I could see it in their eyes when I told them I lived in Hanover. And I said, hey, I know Hanover does not have a good reputation with Germans. And, you know, there is this saying, I don't really remember it in German, but the translation is there's nothing more stupid than Hanover. And you know what? It's like life has sent me into all these suffering cities, except maybe for Seattle, because Seattle was just its own thing, and then it started to become prosperous with the tech industry. And the funny thing is, Hanover was such an amazing city, and my most popular blog that's ever been read that had like almost 1,000 likes on it was my last letter, like a love letter to Hanover right before leaving. And it's because it's like Cleveland. It was this underdog city. I've lived in Bowling Green, Ohio. I'm originally born and raised in Cleveland, the suburbs. I lived in Toledo, Ohio. I lived in Little Walla Walla, Washington for a year. And then I lived in Seattle, and then I go to Hanover. And I remember when Josh and I went to Oktoberfest, like at some point toward the end of the night, like they kick you out directly at 10 o'clock. Like the German efficiency, it's 10 o'clock, you're fucking out of the beer hall. And so Josh was so drunk, and I was like, you know, trying to lead him on, like, hey man, like let's go back to our Airbnb. And you know, he wanted a schnitzel, and so we got food, and we were just walking. Oh, we're going over this beautiful old bridge. And the funny thing was, we ran in, so we're in Munich, obviously Oktoberfest is in Munich, and then we ran into some people who were like, oh, are you American? Like, why are you in Germany? And we're like, oh, we're here on the Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship, and you know, Josh is like, we're doing research on Soziales Wohnungsbau und Obdachlos, which is like homelessness and social housing. And they're like, oh, where do you live? And we said, Hanover. And like, they're like, Hanover, ew, it's so blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Josh and I, like, I was fine, but he was so drunk. And I was at this point where I was a year into living in Germany that we both laid into that, those three, like saying, fuck you, kind of like, fuck you. You know, Hanover's a great city. It is. It's a great city. It's got a forest in the middle of the city, and it's the most bikeable city in Germany. And so, you know, it's like in my brain, it was like Cleveland was the underdog city. And the funny thing is, people who live in Seattle who are from Cleveland are going home and finding Cleveland more cool and hip or more awesome than Seattle, because Cleveland's becoming what Seattle used to be before it sold its soul to the tech industry and Amazon. So the irony of all of this is everything in life goes through points of suffrage. It goes through highs and lows, and then if you hit rock bottom, you kind of come up again. And that's exactly what this experience is for me, but it's also the same with these cities. And I hated hearing that about Hanover, because the Hanoverians are very cold people, but once you crack into them, they're very nice. And I love Germans, and I love Germany and German people. I'm highly emotionally attached to Hanover. And I just, when I hear this, it's like this rotten fucking attitude from these big city snobby thing, like people that have, there's all these little sparrows in the tree. I don't know if you can see them. They're so cute. It's just like undermining, it's undermining your own people. It's undermining the middle class, and I hate that. And it's so frustrating for me, I guess, because I've seen it with Cleveland. People shit on Cleveland. I mean, there are some videos that are really funny. Got some sheep behind me here. There are some videos that are funny about like the only thing that comes out of Cleveland is crippling depression and stuff like that. Like, I could laugh about it. I could make fun of myself. I could make fun of the city I come from as well. But I think that's why, like, O Perino here was not my favorite city. It was industrial. It'd be like going to Detroit and Youngstown. But it's important to see because these are the people doing the grunt shit work. So I think I've talked about this subject long enough, but that was the point of my first video, so this is like part 2. Okay, buen camino, bye.